What the hell is down there? Can someone please tell that fish to swim away? Okay, the bobbit worm. Hands down the most terrifying hunter in the sea, despite being, you know, a worm. Yep, you're looking at a real-life graboid from Tremors. Ugh! These jaws are outrageous. They're so powerful that they can slice a fish in two. Oh god, oh god. Oh! I mean, just look at this thing work. It shouldn't even be possible. And there's no telling what's going on in the bobbit worm's burrow. Mostly because, well, no one has ever studied that bit. What is known is that bobbit worms can reach a staggering 10 feet long. And by now you're probably wondering, hey, is the bobbit worm in fact named after those famous bobbits and their amputation incident? And to that I can say, maybe. Unfortunately, the origins of the name are hazy, but I can see the similarities. Oh no. Normal bug. Normal. What the sh**? Behold the peanut bug. Yes, that's its name. If the rainforest were a playground, this would be its biggest nerd, geek, dork, poser, and dweeb combined. It seems like everything wants a piece of the peanut bug, for it has defenses galore. First of all, it's got some lovely camouflage. Second, that head. The theory goes that it makes the insect look like a snake or lizard. If that doesn't work as a deterrent, ideally the predator will bite onto the noggin. The dome is actually hollow, and losing it might give the bug a chance to escape. But this insect hopes it never comes to that. If a predator doesn't get the hint about the head, the peanut bug will unfurl its wings, which have two massive eye spots. With any luck, that scares the fiend away. If not, its last defense is to shoot a foul-smelling spray. I hear it smells a bit like a skunk. Part of the problem is the peanut bug can't defend itself by biting. It feeds solely on plant sap. Which makes it all the more curious that legend says that if a woman is bitten by a peanut bug, she has to sleep with her boyfriend within 24 hours or she dies. I'll give you a wild guess as to which of the two sexes came up with that one. Just look at these baby goats. I'm showing them to you in the hope that their cuteness will insulate you from what you're about to see. This is not a baby goat. It is in fact the larva of a botfly erupting out of human skin. There are several species of botfly that parasitize a range of mammals, from horses to squirrels to you and me. They are, I want to tell you, horrible. The female botfly that targets horses lays her eggs on the hide. When the horse licks the area, it picks up the eggs, which hatch into larvae and attach to its stomach. Here's animation of another botfly that tackles a mosquito mid-flight and attaches her eggs to the insect's belly. When the mosquito feeds on a human, body heat triggers the eggs to hatch into larvae, which burrow into the wound. But it pokes its rump out of your skin so it can poop, which is courteous. Now, you can use tweezers to yank the botfly larva out, but that'll be uncomfortable because it's covered in spines that anchor it in your flesh. But if you let it develop for 3 months or so, it'll back out on its own. Ideally, it'll drop into the soil and grow into an adult, starting the process all over again. But enough of that. Here's a goat on a green screen. Hehe. Goat on a green screen. Ah, the life of a fish. So serene, so safe from the many predators on land. Absolutely no way a bird could plummet out of a tree and murder you. Well, never mind then. That was a kingfisher, so named because it's good at fishing for kings or something. You'll find the often brilliantly colored kingfishers all over the world. Their favorite haunts are rivers and ponds. Anything aquatic, really. Typically the bird will post up on a branch or hover over the water, keeping an eye out for fish below. Hovering is all the more impressive considering the kingfisher has to keep its head steady while beating its wings 8 times a second. And keep in mind that because of the way light bends when it hits water, to the bird, the fish won't appear where it actually is. But in a flash, the kingfisher strikes, firing into the water and either snagging or spearing the fish like a boss. Then it's back to the perch, where the bird bashes the prey to knock it out cold, then swallows it whole. But that means the kingfisher is getting indigestible junk like bone. So when it's done digesting the good stuff, it coughs up the bone as a pellet, like an owl would. And voila, the sad life cycle of the kingfisher's victim. Not so uppity anymore now, are we? If you didn't think fish could be cute, first of all, how dare you? Second of all, just look at the spiny lumpsucker. While your typical fish has a streamlined body that cuts neatly through the water, the lumpsucker is more spherical. That's because it lives a radically different life. Since the lumpsucker is a lousy swimmer, it sticks to the seafloor. Like, literally sticks. Its pelvic fins have evolved into a suction cup. And that's key, because unlike other fish, it lacks a swim bladder, which normally helps maintain neutral buoyancy. Sticking to a rock means the fish can sustain its position without having to constantly correct, thus saving energy. So the lumpsucker isn't what you'd call a voracious hunter. It simply hoovers up worms and other critters even more sluggish than itself. And check out the surface of the fish. It isn't actually made of scales, but plates, each tipped with a tiny spine. That just might help keep them out of other animals' mouths. Not that you should even be eating something so cute. I mean, come on, look at this thing. At 100 feet long and over 300,000 pounds, the blue whale is the biggest animal on Earth. That's like 3 school buses or a single 100-foot long ruler. But another oceanic creature actually measures up to it. This. Yes, this. You're looking at a siphonophore, which can grow to 100 feet long. Think of the various species of siphonophore like jellyfish, only far stranger. They may look like individual animals, but siphonophores are actually made up of a stem that buds thousands of clones, each with a specific job. Some jet-propelling clones at the front make up the engine. Still others are the assassins. Like the jellyfish, siphonophores sting with tentacles. And this here is the most famous and dangerous siphonophore of them all, the Portuguese manivore. Instead of a 100-foot-long stem, it's built more like a balloon to float along the surface. And its sting is excruciating. Even worse, its stingers can break loose and still do damage floating around on their own. I'd like to see a blue whale do that. So this little crab's like, hey, just passing through here, fellas. And this big crab's like, no, check yourself. And this other big crab's like, no, you check yourself. And the other crab's like, all right, maybe for a second, but I'm not happy about it. Such is the life of the fiddler crab. You may have noticed that the fiddler crab has kind of a little claw, big claw thing going on. In fact, the big pincer can be twice as long as the crab's body is wide. But it's only males that wield those mighty claws. Why? Well, males have to wave to each other to say hi. And by hi, I mean they're saying, I will end you if you don't back off. Waving also attracts females, so that's definitely a way to say hi. When they're not waving at each other, fiddler crabs are tunneling. And even though they're a bit cranky, they're actually colonial. Thousands of fiddler crabs might live and feed together, which entails shoveling sand in their mouths and filtering out the organic material. And waving. And whatever it is you'd call this. Oh my. You okay, little ant? Can I get you anything? No? Alright, good luck. Welcome to the jaws of the tiger beetle, the most ferocious insect on planet Earth. The beetle is pretty much just legs and a mouth with a little bit of body attached, and they're insatiable. Quite literally. Like, who even messes with ladybugs? Come on, man. They'll even tussle with spiders. Okay, and get off me, and thank you. And tiger beetles are astoundingly fast. They'll sprint so quickly that even though they have giant eyes, they can't collect enough photons. So periodically, they go blind. But they stop, get their bearings again, and continue pursuit. Once they get a hold of something, there's no escape. The beetle's massive jaws can cut through just about anything. And the tiger beetle is no slouch in the air either. So really, prey has nowhere to hide. Even as a larva, the beetle is a menace, digging a vertical tunnel and waiting for a victim. This ladybug was lucky, and not so much. Even big old caterpillars aren't safe. So count your blessings you're not on the menu, because, hoo boy. You're tired of politics. We all are, except for that one crazy uncle of yours at Christmas dinner. But what is and always will be legit is the natural world. So let's focus on that for a few minutes, shall we? Specifically, my 3 favorite critters we've covered this year on Absurd Creatures. I went to the California Academy of Sciences in San Francisco to meet some of them. Yeah, okay, they're dead, but whatever, it still counts. This is the incredible kingfisher. It dives out of the sky and pierces the water, oftentimes skewering its prey as well. I wonder if you could walk us through how they're calculating where to strike, given the fact that light bends when it hits water and it makes these fish appear where they actually are not.
If you've ever put a pencil in a glass of water and looked at it from the side, you can see that the pencil looks bent. The kingfishers will often sit on a branch above a lake and then look down into the body of water until it sees a fish. But then, oftentimes it'll fly up above it and then go straight down, and then that makes the calculation a lot easier.
I understand that when they get back up to the perch, they tend to bash the fish's head in.
Here's this little fish. A lot of them have, spiky fins that they've got to thrash around a bit and beat it up to keep it from hurting them. Kingfishers are also one of the rare groups of birds where the female is more brightly colored than the male. This one has this sort of muted blue breastband, but then this one has a little bit more color in the breastband and even has a second band that's this rusty red color. Well, this one's actually the female, and this one's the male.
So there you have it, the majestic kingfisher. These are the peanut head bugs, so named because they have peanuts for heads.
That's used for defense to sort of trick other predators that it, might be an extra extended head. But the truth is, if you look inside that head process, it's really just an empty shell, like a bubble full of air.
That amazing head isn't the only incredible thing about the peanut head bug. They have these eye spots. They're enormous.
It's really, I think, trying to imitate something that would be horrific to other potential predators. You can imagine a peanut bug kind of resting on a tree with its wings shut, and if it all of a sudden gets really freaked out, it can whip those wings open and really potentially scare something away.
When I first saw these, I thought that there might be some sort of fungus on them. They have this white coating on their abdomens. That's not a fungus though. What is it?
It's something that happens across plant hoppers, the group of insects that the peanut-headed bug belongs to. And for some reason, these insects just generate this wax that ends up accumulating on their bodies. Imagine for a predator, it might grab the peanut head, and the insect can get away. If it grabs this slippery, waxy body, maybe it can escape.
Another insect here at the Academy isn't such a pushover.
So these are all rhinoceros beetles, and they're part of a big group of beetles that obviously comes in a lot of different sizes and shapes. You can see how they've earned their name, right? They have these incredible horns.
So this looks almost like a giant mouth, right? The top jaw and the bottom jaw, but that's not the case.
This top one is coming out of his thorax. That's kind of like just an immovable sort of top shell. This bottom piece is actually coming off the top of his head, so you can imagine he has a little bit more mobility in his head, so he can sort of use that bottom one for the clasping.
These are males with these amazing structures. The females are plainer.
Much less impressive, yeah.
Why are the females losing out on having this amazing structure?
The males use these big horns to fight for females, and so the females kind of are exempt from that whole battle. They kind of get locked in a arms race for the females. Something interesting about these beetles is that they actually spend most of their life cycle in their larval stage, living and eating, as grubs.
Sounds like it's much more laid back to be the larva.
I don't know. I think you got to do a lot of eating. So the adult stage is really about sex and fighting. The larvae, more about just excessive eating.
Not a bad life in total, really.